All right, hey everybody, Dave Floss here from Mentally Unbalanced and Prometheus Falling Toys with another quick video. I just posted a video yesterday. I'm actually pretty excited because it got a lot of momentum, some good, some bad, and that's ultimately why I'm making today's video because, well, I made a horrible mistake. I referred to something as CHUG, and I should have called it Kibble. I confused my chugs for my kibbles. And of course, I didn't realize this. It was a mix of words for whatever reason. Chug is what popped in my head, and that's what I used to instead of kibble. But thankfully, there are so many wonderful people out in the internet ether that corrected me. Some nicely, some like, I think you meant kibble, and some not so nicely. What can I say? I apologize for the faux pas, but ultimately, what I want to do to please the great Cybertronians in the sky is I want to tell you what the difference is between Chug and Kibble. Now, if you already know what the difference is, swipe left. Move on. That's fine. But I thought, you know what? I made a mistake, and even as a collector for many years, I didn't even really know these terms probably until the last couple years as I started joining more Facebook and other online transformer groups, and I started seeing these things about Chug and Kibble and other acronyms and expressions. I didn't really know what they meant, right? I hadn't been part of that community. So if you're not sure what they are, or you just want to have enjoy a couple minutes where I go through it, stick around, right? So let's start with the mistake I made. So I was talking about the HasLab Unicron and some of the feedback, complaints, etc., related to this figure that's coming out, and one of them was the Kibble, not the Chug, the Kibble. And that is all those extra bits on the character, right? And so what I thought I'd do is quickly, kind of give my... by the way, Kibble sometimes is obvious, and other times it's, it's subjective, right? How much is or isn't Kibble. So, when I look at this character right here, right? Here's a good example. All of this, right? All of this necessary for her alt mode. It would be kind of Kibble. All this extra junk kind of going on in the back, and even the legs, you can kind of see a lot going on there, and ultimately that's because in order for it to have an alt mode, you need all these extra pieces that basically surround and encapsulate the robot, right? And the Unicron is very similar. He's got a lot of that Kibble on his legs, on his back, and they're really just a bunch of different, I'll call them plates, right? That when he's in World Eater mode, allow him to have that, that circular circumference, circular shape, right? And then you have as another example here, right? We have RC, and we can see the legs, don't have any Kibble going on, but still has this pretty significant, I'll call it a backpack, right? That's going on here from that perspective. So, there you go. That's what I meant. Kibble. So now I kept saying Chug, right? And it was actually I'm going to give a shout out to Big Larry 100, somebody who commented on the YouTube video. So Big Larry did a great job of basically just putting out what does Chug actually mean, So I'm gonna actually read from right over here. Classics, Henkei, Universe, Generations. And I like his explanation. Basically, figures Walmart or Target sell, mainline figures, classics that were basically when Hasbro started G1 characters. Henkei is the same, but was Takara's name for them. Okay, good to know the difference between Hasbro and the Takara name. When the Japan releases would be painted differently, and then Universe Generations were the lines right after classics that continued on. They haven't really stopped with Combiner Wars, War for Cybertron, so people quit adding letters and settled on calling it the mainline figures, Chug. Not to be confused with masterpiece, but not legend. Not masterpiece, but not legend size. Just the regular figures are all CHUG. Okay. So what is so you know these figures that I'm showing you? This is a CHUG. HasLab Unicron would be considered a CHUG, and some of those CHUGs have Kibble, right? So there you go. Now, granted, that's CHUG, and again, thanks again to Big Larry for his explanation of that that I was able to just very easily read and share with you. But there's a couple other, besides CHUG, it's like what else is out there? Well, the other examples are third party, right? Third party transformers, and then knockoffs. So third parties is pretty easy. I have, for example, this character here, Coot, is what is the name on the box, but any Transformer fan will know that this is Cup. And the reason that he's called Coot is that he's not made by Hasbro or Takara. He's not a legitimately licensed and manufactured figure from Hasbro or Takara. So clearly they're working on a likeness, but they don't use the branding, the same name. So we have Coot as an example here. And then another kind of example would be, this Alicon, which is a unique, it's a few years old now, but again, it's not made by Hasbro or Takara. It's got the likeness of an Alicon, but it's made by a third-party group. And then you have knockoffs, right? So, what's the difference kind of between, this being third-party, right, and a knockoff? Well, the best one I found was the definition online, which is a knockoff is a product similar or identical to a product of one company, but made by another without their authorization. So I guess it's kind of a gray area a little bit, but a knockoff would be if somebody released this exact figure that's made by Hasbro, for example, but gave it a different name or didn't give credit to Hasbro, and ultimately Hasbro didn't authorize it, right? They didn't license them to do it at all in the first place. So a knockoff is really an exact reproduction. I'll basically say, like using the same mold or stealing the mold or recreating the same mold, as opposed to a third party, which in itself is extremely unique. It's not just a recast or recreation of something Hasbro or Takara already did. So there you go. I hope hopefully now you and I have a better understanding of CHUG versus Kibble. I want to say, ultimately, regardless of the mixed feedback that I got, I appreciate the feedback, and I also appreciate the fact that the only way I'm getting that feedback is because you're watching the videos. So thanks to everybody who's took the time to watch that video or watch our other videos. If you enjoy this video or our other videos, of course, I'm going to ask you to subscribe. Helps me build up my numbers and hopefully produce more content in the future. And I will take a moment, of course, to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed, not just to our YouTube channel, but to our Facebook groups, which I will put down in the comments section of this video. And if you haven't, go ahead, just give them a like and see what we have to offer. Until then, thanks again, and watch your Kibble.